Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my God of War God Mode Pain run. Attempted no damage, with an asterisk, because there's some parts of this that aren't no damage, because this game is fucking evil. This is the Minotaur. Technically, isn't it like Pandora's Guardian? There's a particular name for this monster. This boss fight is dog shit, but it's got some cool things in it. And I only call it dog shit with love, because it's way too long under pain, conditions. However, there is an interesting speedrunner tech here that you can use, where when you pull this lever, you can loop these lever pulls and break his armor way quicker than you were supposed to. Sadly, I couldn't quite do it. I tried to do it after I watched the speedrunner do it, and he made it look really easy. And then I couldn't do it, and it was just that thing of like, I can try and learn this thing and show you this cool shit, or I can just get on with it and do it and move on to the next thing. And because of the disposable nature of YouTube, I was already thinking about the next project. Because truth be told, I love God of War 1. I probably mirrored these sentiments earlier on in this run, but I didn't find certain parts of this to be as much fun as I was hoping. Because I've done a lot of other challenge runs now that I find more interesting than the pain stuff in this particular game. I still love it, but if I'm gonna challenge run God of War, it's gonna be 2. Because there's something about that game. It's my favourite, and it's the one I love the most, and like a true savant, it'll probably be the one I cover at the end, the final one I cover, even though it should have been the first one, but there's just something in my brain that works weird like that. And this was one of the areas I didn't have a lot of fun doing, because you have to hit this guy for like 15 minutes, and I'm sure you can do it faster by somehow optimizing this with more triangles and things and hitting more of the Spirit of Hercules. But the idea is, if you stand on the left-hand side of his shoulder, your right, his left, he keeps trying to do this move that never hits you. However, if you're not in the right spacing, it does. So be very careful here. And you can kind of do what you want. And I'm just going to hit the shit out of him. And my moves will be a combination of, I'll do the Mega Plumes, I'll do Ascension, I'll do some just square triangles, I might do some square triangles, I'll eventually do different things, I might even do some jump attacks. I'm just kind of trying to keep myself engaged. Because one of the things I really struggle with, guys, is when I have to do the same things, I get bored. And when I get bored, my mind slips, my discipline slips, and I start to make mistakes. It's one of the reasons why I'm not very good at doing like marathon stuff, long stuff. But shorter stuff is my wheelhouse. And this is one of those fights where, because you are doing the same thing and a lot of it is very unengaging, it's boring. It's really boring. And I'm not going to commentate this full video because there's nothing really to watch. Unless you've never seen this and you're just like, oh wow, I need to watch it all, this could be really cool. It's just 15 minutes of me whooping on an enemy that can't hit me, really. If you use that technique to break his armor, you can probably do this in like 5 minutes. And if I cover this game again, which it could always happen, I will definitely show you that technique. But I feel like God of War's bosses are all over the place. And I feel like God of War 2 made them way better. And it's interesting because I love the Hydra, even though the final head of the Hydra does take a lot of damage under these restrictions, even though you can do a trick there as well with a really precise button press, which is also really cool. But to me, the Hydra was the first thing I saw with God of War when it was first shown on the press release stuff, and it kind of blew me away. As this hardcore Devil May Cry guy, action guy, playing stuff like Onimusha and things like that, I saw the life bar, I saw the big boss, I saw the boss life bar, and it spoke to me. It really did. So even if the Hydra's not that interesting of a fight, I just love it. To me, it's gaming. It's just this wonderful snapshot of loving video games and getting really good ones. Whereas I think that this boss, I didn't even like this boss casually in my first playthrough. I thought it just seemed kind of shitty and kind of out of place and a bit weird. But here it is, And then of course after this, there are some better bosses. I do quite like Hades. I said Hades, didn't I? That's wrong guy. Ares. Hades is in God of War 3. Technically he's in this, but he's not a boss. I think Ares is kind of cool. You know, I don't agree with his HP, but you're going to hear that in almost any game you see me play because I'm a HP bitch. If you don't die like Bushido Blade, I'm not interested, you know? But I think Ares is a much more interesting fight than this. And I love the idea that it is so specifically different and almost gimmicky. One of the things you'll notice about the early 2000s when it comes to these action games is they all decided to do these gimmicky final fights. And I think it was awesome. I think it shows the roots of the arcade and the experimentation that the PS2 was so good at. Even though, you know, there's other consoles that did it too. And for instance, in this one, the final fight becomes almost like a fighting game. Two people with life bars, both people with skills, and the perspective's kind of different, and it's interesting, you know, and they keep changing it. And then you have Devil May Cry, where you get to the end of the game, and it turns into a shmup, it turns into Space Harrier, and it's this really interesting sequence, which I'll never forgive the developers for putting on the same checkpoint as Mundus 2, because you have two vastly different boss fights, and the hardest one is after the first one, so it turns it into this awful fucking double boss fight, life bar souls bullshit we're dealing with fucking 20 years later now. And I have no idea why it's just not Mundus on one level, Mundus 2 on another level, Mundus 3 on another level. They even separated Final Nightmare. It was perfect. It's so close to being perfect. And then they're like, guess what, Chris? I'm going to piss you off. Here's a shitty checkpoint. Fuck you, guy. Fuck you in the mouth. And then you got Ninja Gaiden, of course, where when you take on Emperor, you're flying around on a rock, you're doing all kinds of crazy stuff, it's fucking awesome. And then Emperor 2 is even weirder. You're just in the lava shooting a bow at a dude. It's like the tanks and the skulls everywhere. So it's just, there was this wonderful eye for really throwing a bit of a curveball at the end of the game in these games. And I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate anybody that watches this full video, because the Minotaur is a very specifically uninteresting fight. But thank you all for being here, guys. I hope you're enjoying the run, and you take care now.